All right, everybody, welcome in. Happy Monday, the Justin Kinner Show. We are finally off and rolling to officially kick off the new year. I know technically we did a show on Friday, which was 2026, but we are kicking off the new year with the show and then 2 days off heading into the weekend. But it doesn't matter because it's the first full week of the new year, and there is a ton going on. The NFL season's over. The NFL season is officially over, at least for, NFL teams that are placed here in the state of Ohio. It's not a surprise, right? Like, that's how this works. Browns fans, Bengals fans, like, I don't know why we don't get along more, because we're all just miserable all the time. One team, and I know the defense kind of fell off down the stretch, but when you look at the last 5-year stretch with Myles Garrett being the core, the main piece, the cog of this defense, you have a generational defense right now, or generational defensive talent in Myles Garrett on the Browns side, and then a generational offensive quarterback, of course, for the Bengals. And yet both teams have nothing to show really for anything. Now, to be fair, the Bengals do have a Super Bowl appearance, back-to-back AFC championship appearances, but I do feel like missing the playoffs in 4 of the 6 years that Joe Burrow has been in the NFL, I feel like that almost negates the back-to-back years of making it to the AFC championship game. I think that's honestly what makes it worse. I think that when you really scale it back and look at what the Bengals have done with Joe Burrow, I think what they haven't done with them totally outweighs what they have done with him. I do think that, when I hear Bengals fans a lot of times throw at me, well, at least we've made it to a Super Bowl. At least we've made it to a Super Bowl. That's a flex for 99% of the teams in the NFL when their fan base can say, at least our team just recently made it to a Super Bowl. But I think what ended up happening is like, your biggest success also highlights your biggest failure. It's the fact that this organization hasn't been able to do anything to capitalize on it. And I think that's a big-time problem. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We are off and rolling here to kick off the 2026 calendar year. And I would have loved to be talking about the Buckeyes still in the playoffs. I would have loved to be talking about the Bengals still in the playoffs. Not still, but in the playoffs in general. It's been 3 years. I would have loved to be talking about the Browns in the playoffs as we kick off the new year. But no. It's all the same, right? The Buckeyes got knocked out of the playoff. I know we touched on that briefly last week. I said I think that the Buckeyes underperformed. Keith Byers was in earlier today. Him and I disagreed on that. He doesn't think that they underachieved. I think they underachieved greatly. But we'll talk about the Buckeyes more in depth coming up later on, because I want to open up with the Bengals. This show, it's the 3 Bs. It's not the Better Business Bureau, but it's the Buckeyes, Bengals, and Browns. Like, those 3 Bs run this show. And both organizations made major headlines today for opposite reasons. One team fired their coach for their team not accomplishing what they would like. The other team rewarded their coach for not accomplishing what they would like by keeping him employed. So let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals. I highlighted this on Twitter and on Facebook earlier. By the way, it's the Justin Kinner Show. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. Okay, this show will be clipped, and certain segments and all interviews will all be posted on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. But you could watch the show every day live from 3 to 5 on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. So please make sure, if you haven't done so, go and like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call the show. You could also text that same number. I know a lot of you are at work or busy. You can't call into the show. Text the show, and I'll make sure that I read your responses here live on the show. You can also comment in the chat on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. So there's that. Now, I highlighted this earlier. It's crazy to me, as bad as the Browns have been in recent years, that the Cleveland Browns actually have a more recent playoff appearance than the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals have a generational quarterback in Joe Burrow. They have a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow, and arguably, when he's on the field and when he's healthy, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. And we know that teams go as their quarterbacks go, which is kind of wild, because this is a playoff that will not see Lamar Jackson, will not see Patrick Mahomes, and will not see Joe Burrow. But I also think that what you are seeing is the arc of teams who have paid their quarterbacks and haven't been able to sustain the excellence needed when it comes to drafting and developing and finding those mid-tier free agents in the offseason to kind of offset the heavy dollars spent on the QB. Some people like to say that that's a myth, that paying your quarterback doesn't truly negate team success. I think that we're seeing it now. I think that I disagree with that. I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. There's no excuse why all three of those quarterbacks should not be in the playoff. But yet, all rosters that were dominant rosters in recent years, they've taken major hits in recent years ever since they paid their quarterback. So who knows how all that's going to transpire as time moves along. But that's just kind of where we're at. But the Cincinnati Bengals have been afforded a luxury of having arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. And outside of and this isn't a small accomplishment, but outside of that Super Bowl appearance, they have nothing else to show for it. This team has missed the playoffs 3 straight years. They have missed the playoffs 4 of the 6 years that Joe Burrow has been a quarterback in the NFL. That's a problem. And it's not a new problem. I'm not telling you anything you already don't know. I'm not hating. I'm not stirring the pot. If you, as a Bengals fan who hates me because I'm a Browns fan, if you still can't find it in your brain to agree with what I am saying, that it is a problem and an embarrassment that your team has missed the playoffs for the 6 years that Joe Burrow has been here, that's a you problem, not a me problem, and I don't feel bad for highlighting it. But like, you would like to feel like your organization is doing something about it, that they are going to make, changes to combat some of the underachievements that this team has consistently underachieved with throughout the team's history, recent history especially. Do you have faith that the Brown family is all of a sudden going to start making the right changes this offseason to fix the Bengals' issues moving forward? Last year, Joe Burrow was healthy the entire season. Last year, the Bengals had a historically bad defense. And the only good thing about their defense was, of course, one of the top pass rushers in football in Trey Hendrickson and one of the better defensive coordinators in football in Lou Anarumo. And what did the Bengals do? They added no impact players defensively in the offseason. They pissed off their best defensive player in Trey Hendrickson and refused to pay him until they absolutely had to, and to the point where he was demanding trades. And then they got rid of a defensive coordinator that they said wasn't any good, but yet has been a name that's thrown out for a lot of potential head coaching vacancies in the NFL in recent years. And then that defensive coordinator would go on to have major success with the Colts, and he's one of the top candidates to get the Titans job if they choose to go the defensive head coach route. The Bengals don't act with urgency. 2 years ago, the Bengals missed the playoffs for the first time, and instead of acting with urgency, they didn't attack they didn't attack free agency with any urgency. They ignored every red flag of every draft pick that they selected that year. And every red flag basically came true after that season. I mean, we all know what happened. Eric All, ignoring all of the issues with Eric All injury-wise throughout his career in college. They ignored that, selected him, and he hasn't played a game in 2 years since being drafted. We all know what happened with the wide receiver. That couldn't figure it out. He couldn't find a way to play for the likes of a Kirby Smart at Georgia. Couldn't find a way to figure it out and play for the likes of a Nick Saban at Alabama. But somehow, some way, Zach Taylor was going to be the guy that brought the best out in him. He's not even with the team anymore. Right? Like, this team does not draft well. They don't develop well. They don't act with urgency. They don't spend heavy dollars in free agency. And you could say, well, what are you talking about? They made Joe Burrow the highest paid quarterback in the NFL when he got paid. They made Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. Look how messy things have to get before they do it. I'm not going to give the Bengals credit for paying Joe Burrow. Why would they not pay Joe Burrow? I'm not going to give them credit for paying Jamar Chase, because ultimately they did pay Jamar Chase, but they ended up spending way more on Jamar Chase than they had to because they couldn't get out of their own way. Every time this team does something that they should get complimented for, they do it in a way that makes you still look at them sideways. They get to a Super Bowl, and instead of feeling good about them getting to a Super Bowl, you look back at that Super Bowl appearance and the opportunity of, man, Joe Burrow was only in year 2. Jamar Chase was in year 1. T. Higgins was in year 2. You had all this money to spend and take advantage of the next couple of year window, and that's when you decided to be cheap. That's when you decided to move on from Jesse Bates. That's when you decided to move on from veteran pieces on that defense. And that's when you decided to get worse and worse and worse. So your Super Bowl should be an accomplishment that you highlight. But when I see that Super Bowl, it reminds me of, what you didn't do with that window. What you didn't do with that opportunity. All right. Oh, you paid Joe Burrow. That's great. But what was the purpose of paying Joe Burrow if you weren't going to try to take advantage of having Joe Burrow in your quarterback room? You paid Jamar Chase. That's great. But if you would have paid him a year sooner, he wouldn't have held out of camp. He wouldn't have been a distraction. You wouldn't have ruffled feathers with him. And ultimately, you wouldn't have had to spend $1 gajillion more on him than what you ended up doing. And now this is a team that struggles with money and everything. And but they kept T. Higgins as well. Yes. And to me, I don't think that's the flex that you think it is. This team has been historically bad defensively for many, many years. But you're going to brag about spending $70+ million a year on 2 wide receivers on a team that's missed the playoffs for 3 straight years, who has a historically bad defense. That's not the flex that you think it is. Everything that you should compliment about this team is actually just a constant reminder of everything that's wrong with it. You can't enjoy the Super Bowl because it's a reminder of what they didn't do to capitalize on that opportunity after. You can't enjoy the fact that they have Joe Burrow because they've missed the playoffs for the 6 years that he's been here. You can't enjoy the fact that you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because those two combined make $70 million, and they're a walking reminder of what you don't have on the defensive side of the ball. And today, when the organization had a chance to tell the fans, all right, we've had enough. We screwed up. Our bad. We're going to move on from Zach Taylor. We're going to actually go get a real GM who knows what the blank he's doing. We're going to do all of these things to show the fans that, you know what, we're in this now. We realize we made a mistake. Just say you made a mistake. Tell the fans that you screwed up. And I think that you would earn faith and trust within the fan base if you just admitted it and said it. And instead, you tried to gaslight the fans into believing that, hey, we have faith in the 2 guys that have destroyed us the most over the last 3 years, that you have faith in them to dig yourselves out. If you missed it, take a look. Again, for those watching live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, here was the statement that was released from Mike Brown, apparently. Okay. Mike Brown says that we came into the season with high expectations coming off of 4 straight winning seasons with leaders in place that took us to a Super Bowl and 2 AFC championship games. Guys, there's so much. There's like, that's the thing. This is where they're gaslighting you. Okay. Cause I was talking with a buddy of mine earlier and he goes, well, how is that gaslighting us? Read it. We're coming off of 4 straight winning seasons with leaders in place that took us to a Super Bowl and 2 AFC championship games. So yes, outside of this season, the last 4 years, 4 straight winning seasons. But let's just, are we going to ignore the fact that 2 of those 4 winning seasons were non-playoff seasons? I don't care that you finished 9-8 the last 2 years. You missed the playoffs with a generational quarterback and a generational wide receiver. I don't like Jamar Chase. I think he's a scummy person. He spits on other human beings. I think he's a horrible human being himself. So I don't like him, the person, but the wide receiver, my gosh, the guy's unbelievable. You have nothing to show for it. They're gaslighting you. They're trying to say, we had 4 straight winning seasons. What's everyone upset about? These are the guys responsible for our 4 straight winning seasons. No, that they're not. They're responsible for all you've missed the play after getting to back-to-back AFC championship games. And at the time, having a window where your quarterback and wide receivers were on rookie deals, you had a window to capitalize on that. And instead, you got worse. And now Mike Brown releases this statement trying to convince you that, hey, I have all the confidence in the world, and these guys had built a team that was 500 for 4 straight seasons. What a joke. Mike Brown says, we know this season has been frustrating and disappointing. Well, no non-FCC approved word. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Mike Brown's, this is a long statement. It's a lot of BS. But he goes on to say that the results fell short of our standards. What standards, you buffoon? And missing the playoffs again proves there is more work to do. No duh. Oh, but guess what? They have focus. Ready for this? Mike Brown says our focus is on building a team that can consistently compete at the highest level. Well, wasn't that your focus last year? Wasn't that your focus the year before that? Shouldn't that be the focus of every team? Like, these are why I hate these statements. They're a waste of my time and your time. I should release a statement apologizing for reading a statement that is wasting your time and my time and everybody else's time. He's telling you something that, like, you shouldn't have to tell me that your focus is on building a contender that's consistently there. Like, us as fans, we just anticipate that that's what you're already doing. You shouldn't have to remind us that that's your focus. The fact that we're questioning that that's your focus is the problem to begin with. And you could put it in writing, you could release statements, you could address the media all you want, but until the product on the field, until the results of the field match the BS that you're spewing, no one's going to believe you, my guy. Like, brother, figure it out. It doesn't make sense. And this is the worst part of it all. Mike Brown goes on to say, after thoughtful consideration, I am confident that Duke Tobin and Zach Taylor are the right leaders to guide us forward. They have proven that they could build and lead teams that compete for championships. We trust their plans and expect to return to our desired level of success. Whatever. I don't get it, Bengals fans. I don't. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. We're live on 1410 ESPN Radio. 937-518-1410. That's the statement. You heard it. All right. Straight from the auto pen of somebody. All right. Somebody released this pointless statement. I'm just curious, how do you guys feel when you read it? How does that make you feel? Like, this is a dumb question. I get that. Like, how does Zach Taylor coming back make you feel? I think I know how it makes us all feel. We roll our eyes. But here's the thing. I don't think Zach Taylor coming back is as big of a problem as Duke Tobin coming back. Duke Tobin is so bad at his job. Duke Tobin has no business making decisions on behalf of the Cincinnati Bengals. It's one thing to be mad at Zach Taylor, but Zach Taylor, who's an offensive mind, who has the vote of confidence from his players. I know Jamar Chase, who's a very selfish human being to begin with. Everyone's like, Jamar Chase kind of threw Zach Taylor under the bus. Well, of course, Jamar Chase does. Jamar Chase cares about Jamar Chase and Jamar Chase only. Okay, so I don't care what Jamar Chase has to say. Okay, I think he's one of the most selfish players in the entire NFL. So I really don't care what Jamar Chase has to say, to be honest with you. The most important person in that building is Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow has signed off on Zach Taylor. Why wouldn't he? Zach Taylor's offense has put Joe Burrow in position to statistically be the best quarterback in the NFL. Jamar Chase should also start kissing the behind of Zach Taylor because that same offense has allowed him to be the best wide receiver in the NFL. He at least has a vote of confidence amongst the players. Duke Tobin, give me a break. But good news, Bengals fans, he's going to address you and the media this Friday. Oh, man, changes are coming in Cincinnati. They're actually going to let you talk to the loser that is Duke Tobin. Oh, I'm sorry, winner, because they finished 500 for 4 straight seasons. Whatever. 937-518-1410. I see the text messages are coming in. I see phone calls are coming in. 937-518-1410. Text or call. I mean, how defeated do you feel that Zach Taylor and Duke Tobin are coming back for the 2026 season? We'll pick up with this when we return. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
This year, I'm giving my hair salon a total makeover.
Total makeover sounds totally expensive.
We updated our logo and colors, so I needed to print new signage, brochures, business cards, everything.
Everything will not be cheap.
Staples did it all, and I saved $100 on my order.
$100? Trim my whiskers, that's a good deal. For everything your business needs to print, let's go Staples.
That was easy.
Offer valid in-store and online. N131. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Everybody loves the season of giving, but now the season of paying for it is upon us. That not so wonderful time of the year when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, stare in horror at the balance, and resolve then and there to find new ways to save money. If you're among those Americans, why not start by cutting your wireless bill in half right now with Pure Talk's Saver Plan? It's easy. You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast, nationwide 5G network for just $20 a month. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Ho, ho, ho. And if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe for the gift that keeps on saving from America's wireless company, Pure Talk.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
Progressive's accident response can detect and send help when you need it most after a major car accident. But other accidents, you're on your own. Like when you accidentally call your wife Mom. When you accidentally say Happy Holidays on someone's birthday. When you accidentally wave at someone you thought was waving at you. We can't help with those accidents, but Progressive's accident response provides peace of mind after major car accidents. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Limited availability in California. Driver is responsible for emergency and towing charges not covered by the policy.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777 or biglou.com.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
They didn't have skim milk for your coffee, so I just got formaldehyde.
Oh, isn't that stuff in floor cleaner? Pizza's here. Would you like cheese on that? Or how about a Crowley?
Oh, no, that's a bug spray.
Hi there. Would you like to sample our new scent? Diethylene glycol.
Isn't that the stuff in antifreeze?
You wouldn't want to eat it, drink it, or even smell it, but that's exactly what's in your vapes. If you vape, quit. If you don't vape, don't start. For help, go to odh.ohio.gov/no vapes. A message from the Ohio Department of Health.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410. That's the number that you can text or that you can call. So we got a new text line. The number's the same, but when you text, because we're just learning this, just rolled it out this, to start the year. I don't know who the heck are sending these messages. So if you could, when you text into the show, just say it's Sean from Kettering or however you want to do it, just so I can give you credit nonetheless. But speaking of Sean, that's why I said his name, because he texted most recently. So we were talking about the Bengals, and the Bengals, announcing today that they're going to bring back Zach Taylor, and not only bring back Zach Taylor, but going to bring back Duke Tobin as well, which is just crazy to me. But the bottom line is, so Sean texts into the show, and Sean says that, well, he's a Steelers fan. Congrats, by the way. The Steelers got a hell of a win last night, by the way. I'm torn, by the way, Sean, on your Steelers, because I don't like your Steelers. just like you don't like my team, and I don't expect you to, and you should expect me. But I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy. I know that. I don't know if you're allowed to say that. Everyone hates Aaron Rodgers. I don't. I find him funny. I love the fact that he don't give a rip. He tells you exactly how he feels. I loved his segments on the Pat McAfee show. I love that he doesn't cave to people telling him how he needs to think and feel and all that stuff. I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy, so I'm very conflicted. I root for Aaron Rodgers to make big plays, and he made a hell of a play last night, but I also hate when the Steelers win. So because I don't like I'm not a Mike Tomlin guy. But either way, so Sean, congrats to your Steelers, even though it pains me to say that. But the bottom line is Sean says, and I think anyone that's not a Bengals fan can agree with this, that Sean says he's super excited that they are bringing back, Zach Taylor and, of course, Duke Tobin. And as a Browns fan, I agree with Sean. I love it. I love watching the Bengals continue to underachieve with a generational quarterback. I love it. I mean, it makes me happy. I'm not going to lie. Like everyone's like, man, how did you get through the season as a Browns fan? I'm like, honestly, I can cope with the Browns struggles because I know that Bengals fans are unhappy as well. And that's not a great way. That's not a great, mindset to have. That makes me a bad human. I get that. So, whatever. I don't care. You're not going to say anything that I already don't at least acknowledge, but I'm at least admitting that, yeah, it's not the most mature mindset to have. I'm not happy, but I am happy that you're not happy. So it makes me a little bit happier after being unhappy, after dealing with how unhappy my team has made me. That's a weird bumper sticker, but slap it on the back of your car if you feel like it, it's a good saying. I don't know. It is what it is. Ryan Strong. What up, Ryan? Ryan says, oh man, Ryan Strong coming in strong. He did say he's Ryan Strong texted into the show saying, I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year's. You too, my guy. I hope that your New Year's, look, we're back. We're getting on a routine. That's all I really wanted to get back into was a routine. But Ryan also said, you don't like, obviously Jamar Chase for spitting on somebody, but he's said, but you like Myles Garrett, the piece of trash that swung and hit another player with the helmet. Hey, be respectful now. That's that's a future Hall of Famer, and that's a record setter right there. All right. You need to be more respectful about Myles Garrett right there. But either way. But Ryan Strong says, as a Bengals fan, no, he has no faith. Nothing is ever going to change with the Cincinnati Bengals as far as that's concerned. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah. So look, the bottom line is this. Zach Taylor coming back doesn't bother me as much as Duke Tobin. Right? Like, which one, and again, I'll throw this question out to Bengals fans, which return bothers you more? Which one is more frustrating? Duke Tobin or Zach Taylor? Because here's the deal. I think Zach Taylor can go be an offensive coordinator. Here's why I have to say I'm more upset about Duke Tobin being retained than Zach Taylor. I don't mind Zach Taylor being retained. I don't think when Joe Burrow is healthy, Zach Taylor wins football games. That's why this morning, Stephen A., I like Stephen A. He's done some stuff for me on the show before. Like he voiced the promos for the show. Like he's done some stuff. I just disagree with him this morning when he said, Zach Taylor, he can't win football games without Joe Burrow. And I'm thinking, yeah, just like Andy Reid this year couldn't win football games without Patrick Mahomes. And Harbaugh's not going to win many games without Lamar Jackson. Harbaugh doesn't win many games without Lamar Jackson. So I think that's a weird thing to say. And to be honest, Zach Taylor has finished, this is like a year that they finished under 500 for the first time in 4 years. Zach Taylor, without Joe Burrow, has finished above 500. Zach Taylor, with the historically bad defense, has finished above 500. Zach Taylor, I don't think is the Bengals' biggest problem. And I don't even think that you could bring in any head coach you want right now, but as long as this roster continues to be constructed the way that it is, as long as they continue to execute drafts the way that they do, I don't think that Zach Taylor's the problem. Because when Joe Burrow's been healthy, they win football games. And when they lose football games, it's for reasons that are out of the hands of Zach Taylor. They've lost football games the last 2 years this year because Joe Burrow's been out. But even when Joe Burrow has been here, even the improved defense that you guys tried BSing me about, that improved defense let statistically one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and my guy Shedeur Sanders, you let him march right down the field to set up the game-winning field goal yesterday. Like, guys, this team is bad because of Duke Tobin. So the reason that I think Duke Tobin is a bigger problem to bring back than Zach Taylor is because if Zach Taylor was fired today, I think Zach Taylor is going to be an offensive coordinator within a year or two, and he will continue to coach in this league. Zach Taylor will go somewhere to be an offensive coordinator, have a lot of success, and then kind of be brought back as a head coach elsewhere. Oh, no, Kidder, there's no way that would happen. Guys, Robert Saleh, everyone thought he was a joke when he was with the Jets. Robert Saleh might be the head coach of the Browns. He might be the head coach of some team coming up this year because he went right back to what he was doing before, had a lot of success, and now people want him to come lead their team again. Zach Taylor will be fine. You know who won't be fine? You know who will never, ever, ever get a job in the NFL again is Duke Tobin. Duke Tobin is a joke. Duke Tobin is horrifically bad at his job. Duke Tobin has no business being brought back to be a part of that Cincinnati Bengals front office. Point, period, and blank. I don't have a problem with Zach Taylor coming back. I really don't. I don't think he's a problem. Duke Tobin's the problem. If Duke Tobin does his job, like think about it, guys. Like you guys want to run Zach Taylor out. If Duke Tobin does his job and drafts and brings in the right talent the way that he's supposed to, if they actually are aggressive in free agency and this defense is average, last year that team's probably in the AFC Championship again for the third time in 4 years or 5 years. If Duke Tobin actually does his job and provides weapons on the defensive side of the ball or a slightly better offensive line, Zach Taylor is a 12 to 13 win coach and making deep runs into the playoffs again and again. Like, guys, you can nitpick Zach Taylor with play calling and this and that, and I'm with you. He's not perfect, but I don't think that he is. And I did this on purpose. I went and I started reading Chiefs Twitter today. I started following a lot of Chiefs fans, not following them like hitting follow, but I was just following just a lot of the, I type in Andy Reid on Twitter right now. It's funny how many people are nitpicking Andy Reid, saying, I can't believe he couldn't motivate his team to beat the Raiders. Oh, now we're questioning if Andy Reid's a good coach. Oh, I see. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Now we're questioning Andy. Yeah, maybe Andy Reid, maybe this was Eric Bieniemy's offense and reason. Don't get me started on how much of a joke that is. Take that material over to the Dayton Funny Bone and try saying how long before you're booed off the stage with that funny, lame material. Like, this is what happens when your team as a whole is not that good. When you have Patrick Mahomes and you have weapons and your defense complements your offense, Andy Reid is rivaling Bill Belichick as one of the best, if not the best coach in the history of the NFL. When your roster gets older and your defense isn't as good and Patrick Mahomes goes out and is injured for the year, now you have idiots questioning whether Andy Reid can coach. And by the way, Zach Taylor's not Andy Reid, but Zach Taylor is not the problem in Cincinnati. Duke Tobin is. We only bring up, like, every time the Bengals win, we're not talking about Zach Taylor. But when the Bengals lose, we blame Zach Taylor. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does because that's how sports works. It's just you're silly if that's the case. It's a new year. I'm trying not to be as mean with my name calling, but Zach Taylor is not the problem. I don't mind Zach coming back. I think Duke Tobin coming back shows you just how unserious this franchise is. Let's go to Shaw. Shaw, thanks for holding. You're on live.
Not bad. How are you doing, man?
Not too bad. Happy New Year. I think we've already said Happy New Year, but either way, yeah, I'm sure you have a lot to say. This Bengals team, I'm more upset about the Duke Tobin thing than anything else.
Yeah, I think Taylor gets a pass because Duke Tobin stinks at his job. That's what I think. If Tobin was better at his job, then the failures of Zach Taylor would be well more obvious, and he wouldn't have the excuse of, well, I don't have players and I don't have this and I don't have that. The same GM gave Zach Taylor, who is an offensive coach, every offensive weapon that there's known to man. And I understand Burrow was injured this season, but for the most part, except for 2 years, when they went to the AFC Championship and they went to the Super Bowl, they've been another failure as a team other than those 2 years.
But not offensive.
Yes.
Zach Taylor's the head coach and responsible for the product as a whole. But the bottom line is Zach Taylor doesn't get to put the roster together. Duke Tobin does. And that's why I don't put the blame on Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor his mindset, I mean, it's all about the offense. I know he's not just an OC, but the stuff that he is able to touch and mold and do, that side of the ball has never been an issue. And that's my point.
But over the last 4 years, and including this season, there has been multiple times where this offense has needed a field goal or they needed a score, period, and they were unable to do it. I mean, we can sit there and we can talk about all this nonsense.
Who was unable to do it?
The offense. The offense has failed just as much as the defense has failed.
They've been the most explosive offense in the NFL for years since Joe Burrow's come in.
The total numbers after the seasons are over, correct. But you can talk to Bengals fans nonstop. I mean, there's been plenty of games where they've needed a drive, they've needed a score, they've needed something.
You mean they've needed something else? After putting up 38 points, they need 45 points to go win a game because the defense can't do its job. I mean, you're taking so what the Bengals need is the best head coach in the history of head coaches to come in to be able to handle everything that can go wrong with this organization because there's so many issues, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's a head coach out there that does anything different with this team with how historically bad this defense has been.
I just completely disagree.
Did Zach Taylor miss those kicks?
No. I already started the phone call by stating that the GM is what allows Zach Taylor to get away with all the nonsense that he gets away with.
I don't think he gets away with anything.
I think he gets away with a lot, and that's why he still has his job.
When everyone's calling for his job, when his side of the ball offense, which was what he was hired for, is doing everything that they can. We all know that this team loses because of defense. And now you and others are trying to convince us that it's Zach Taylor that's losing these games. I just can't agree with that. I can't get on board with that.
He loses because he's a horrible coach, period. He's not just an offensive coach. He's the head coach of the football team.
He's a horrible head coach. Zach Taylor's a horrible head coach.
He is a horrible head coach. He does not understand what complimentary football means.
You can't play complimentary football when you have a very untalented, non-complimentary roster.
That's the whole reason you need to run complimentary football, is because you have a horrible defense.
They don't have good running backs, and don't tell me Chase Brown is the answer to this team's problem because he's just not.
Did he run for 1,000 yards this season?
You play 17 games. All you have to do is average 60 yards a game to run for 1,000 yards.
Did he run for 1,000 yards this season?
Listen, let me say this. If you finish every game with 60 yards, that's 17 average to below average games, 60 yards. But when you total it up at the end of the year, it's 1,000 yards. I'm not that impressed with him, to be honest with you. I'm just not.
Because I don't know what more you want from him, to run for 300 yards a game. That's not the style of football we play anymore.
But if he could run, if he was more of a dynamic running back, they probably would run the ball more.
No, they don't. They don't even try to. They run.
But why would you? If you don't have very good running backs, why would you? Chase Brown ran for 1,019 yards, 1,019 yards in a 17-game season. He had 6 touchdowns on the season.
Because you know your defense stinks, and you try to.
So this goes back to Duke Tobin. So it goes back to Duke Tobin. The defense stinks, and he didn't bring in very good running backs.
Again, I already started the phone call by stating Duke Tobin is what allows Zach Taylor to get away with everything he gets.
But he's not getting away with it. They're losing games because of the deficiencies of this team.
Away with it.
They're not.
They do get away with it.
3 straight years of not making the playoffs. That's not getting away with it.
Nobody cares, apparently, because he still has a job.
Chase Brown had 101 yards against the Cardinals, one of the worst running defenses in the NFL last week. Okay. Before that, 66 yards, 66 yards, 53 yards, 23 yards. How many carries? Double-digit carries in every game. Double-digit carries in every game. 12, 13, 12, 15,
yeah,
19.
Exactly. 13.
Yeah.
13,
yeah.
12, 9, 10, 13. That's really running the ball, man. That's really running the ball. That's really running the ball.
But why would you continue handing it to a guy that doesn't run the ball very well? Like he has big games against bad running defenses, but he's not a great running back. Why would you
4
continue?
yards a
That's
carry,
like saying
4.7 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, 4.7 yards a carry.
Do you watch these games? Do you watch the games? Do you watch the games?
Yes, I watch them all.
So then who's stalling these drives? Is Joe Burrow stalling these drives? Joe Burrow's doing his job
for half the season, remember?
Joe Burrow's been back for over a month. And since Joe Burrow's been back, I see a 23-yard performance, a 53-yard performance, a 66-yard performance.
I see a shutout.
By the way, Chase Brown, when you combine his rushing yards and his receiving yards, his stat line looks good at the end because he's actually very good at making plays in the open field in the pass game as well. That's great. They need a running back. They need a guy. They need a Derrick Henry type running back. They need a ground and pound type. They needed a Quinshon Judkins. They need a guy like
doesn't exist.
I mean, they had a chance to get Derrick Henry, and Duke Tobin chose not to.
Again, like you bring that up, like I don't say that Duke Tobin doesn't need to be fired too. I completely.
So Duke Tobin doesn't get Zach Taylor the best players out there. Zach Taylor's supposed to take the not best players and make them the best players. We're watching Andy Reid without very good players lose games all of a sudden.
Do they have one of the best offenses or not? Do they have one of the best offenses?
They have one of the best passing offense. They have one of the best passing offenses in the league because that's where the money went.
So then Duke Tobin did half of his job then.
Duke Tobin is good at his job. That's right. Okay. 937-518-1410. I mean, to sit there and say that Zach Taylor is more to blame than Duke Tobin is absolutely asinine. That is just laughable stuff, and I can't get on board with that. I can't get on board with that. Zach Taylor's not a top 5 coach, but I don't even think he's top 5 of the problems that are wrong with this team right now. They're just not. Zach Taylor, with historically bad defenses, finished 9-8 the last 2 years. Zach Taylor, with all the deficiencies, with a buffoon of an owner, with the joke of a GM, finished above 500 the last couple of years. Like this team is not, this isn't a Zach Taylor problem. Could they upgrade at head coach? Yes, but what's the point of getting a better chef if you have crappy ass ingredients? What's the point of going to get the best chef in the world if you're going to continue to force him to get his off-brand ingredients from Aldi? And by the way, I love Aldi. I don't have anything against Aldi, but you guys understand the reference here. Get better groceries. Get a better GM. Then talk to me about the coach. All right? But let's, everyone out here acting like they're surprised that the Browns moved on from Kevin Stefanski. I'm not surprised. The Browns were one of the most undisciplined teams in football this season. Right? They've been one of the most undisciplined teams over the last couple of years with Kevin Stefanski. I don't think it's that surprise that they moved on from Kevin Stefanski. But everyone's surprised that they're keeping Zach Taylor. I would have been fine if they moved on from Zach Taylor, but to sit there and say that was the worst decision, Duke Tobin, is absolutely crazy. Zach Taylor would be snatched up in a heartbeat to be an OC immediately. Nobody would touch Duke Tobin after the Bengals wise up and move on. 937-518-1410. I see AJ. AJ, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to get you coming up in a moment. I see people texting in. I'm going to read your text in a moment as well. 937-518-1410. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hey, Cordell Transportation is now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers, excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply right now online at CordellTransportation.com. Do it right now. Driven to succeed.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like rugs. And people say a rug would really bring the room together. And sure, you don't know what that means, but it sounds important. Suddenly you're using words like jute and sisal. Then you see the price and lose it, because how can the thing you walk and spill on cost so much? So you devote your life to taking down Big Rug. But then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds. So looks like Big Rug is safe. For now. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by...
The Lowe's Closeout event means the final savings of the season are here. It's your last chance to get deals on seasonal decor, tools, flooring, and so much more. Refresh your home, check off your project list, or simply stock up on the brands you trust. Shop now to grab amazing deals before they're gone. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/7. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
This is Pause Before You Play, and it's time for more game day picks from local sports fans. You're on the air. Who you got?
Actually, I'm not betting, just chilling and watching the game.
I know that move. A pause. Sounds like you've got a winning strategy.
Exactly. After I set limits and recognized the risk, I knew it was time to stop.
Now that is responsible betting, folks. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. Make a plan at pausebeforeyouplay.org. That's pausebeforeyouplay.org.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. I'm Justin Kinner, 1410 ESPN Radio. The Bengals are going to bring back Zach Taylor. They're going to bring back Duke Tobin. In fact, Duke Tobin, to show the Bengals, to show you how serious they are about change this offseason, Duke Tobin is going to be made available to the media this Friday. Duke Tobin, who was the moron that said, back when, by the way, with all the issues that this team has on defense, bragged about the fact that he was not going to trade away T. Higgins. No one, this is like the weird framing that Bengals fans try to do with media where, they just want us to get rid of T. Higgins. They don't want us to be good. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with just logically how you put a roster together. It doesn't make any sense to put $70 million plus the $55 a year that you do to your quarterback. It doesn't make sense to put $120, $130 million into 3 players on one side of the ball when you can't run the ball, when your offensive line isn't good, and when your defense isn't good. It has nothing to do with hating or not wanting to see your team succeed. It's just there's no blueprint out there that shows that that's how you succeed. And to the Bengals' credit, I was like, okay, well, maybe the Bengals are saying, we're going to do it this way, and we're going to show everybody else. I've said this before, years ago, when you started looking at the landscape of the NFL. If you remember, if you look at the Eagles, the one reason that they have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, they did that because they saw what Cincinnati did and said, oh, we don't just need one good wide receiver, we need 2 elite wide receivers. Right? You started looking around the league, and that's what all these teams were doing, is they were going out and getting multiple number 1 wide receivers. But then you started seeing, oh, it doesn't work. Look, if you looked around the league, every team out there was going and getting 1-2 punches at wide receiver. That's just how the NFL was lining up for the longest time. The Miami Dolphins, they had Jalen Waddle, and they gave up so many picks to go get a Tyreek Hill to pair with Jalen Waddle because look at what Joe Burrow in Cincinnati is doing with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And everyone thought, look, if they could do it, we could do it. Well, what they were doing is you had a quarterback you weren't paying, you had a number 1 wide receiver you weren't paying, and, oh, yeah, you had wide receiver 1B and T. Higgins that you weren't paying. Of course you were able to do it for a brief stint of time. But then when it came time to pay him, it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to have all of these. I mean, the Houston Texans did it for a brief bit. That's why they went out and got Stephon Diggs to pair with Nico Collins and those guys. They were trying to go all out to pair multiple top wide receivers together. That's why the Dallas Cowboys were doing what they were doing, because they saw what worked for the Bengals and they saw that it was working for the Eagles. But here's what the Eagles did to make it work, okay? The Eagles piped in a ton of money to their quarterback, to their top 2 wide receivers, and they even had enough money to go and make Saquon Barkley the highest paid running back in the NFL. Now, how could they do that? Well, they did it because every single player on the defensive side of the ball was drafted and developed into starters, and they were pretty damn good. And what did the Bengals do? They paid Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, reluctantly dragged their feet, made a whole circus out of it, and then they whiffed on every single defensive player on that side of the ball. And then the one good player that they did have in Trey Hendrickson, they created drama, created a mess, and they created distractions and didn't want to pay him. This isn't difficult. This isn't hard to understand. The Bengals are just, they had a chance to lay out a blueprint for success, and instead the Eagles looked at what the Bengals did and said, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's do that. And by the way, the Eagles don't have a Joe Burrow. I like Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts is, I think, one of the most overpaid quarterbacks in the NFL. But at the same time, he's at least taken his team to multiple Super Bowls and has won one of those and outplayed Patrick Mahomes in both of them. So, but the Eagles looked at what the Bengals did and said, oh, okay, we're going to do what you did. But now look at the blueprint around the league and look what's working. It's all about the defense. The Chiefs, the one reason that they were able to extend their dynasty is they moved on from Tyreek Hill. And I know that I've got into arguments with many people. Well, they were able to do that because they had, the top tight end in the National Football League and Travis Kelce. Yes, they did that And it was smart, actually, because you could make Travis Kelce the best tight end in football at the time, the highest paid tight end in football at the time, and it's still a fraction of what it is to make the wide receiver the highest paid in the NFL. So they said, Tyreek Hill, we love you. Thank you for helping us win the Super Bowl. But we're not only going to move on from you, we're going to move on from you, give up a ton of draft capital, and still go on to get to 3 straight Super Bowls and win multiple ones more. Like, that's what made Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs so great, is they took Tyreek Hill and they took him and they turned him into many more draft assets, and they kept that train rolling. And their Tyreek Hill would have been T. Higgins. Would they have got as much back as what they did for Tyreek? No. Or they could have done what I suggested. You make T. Higgins your number 1 wide receiver and move on from Jamar Chase, which sounds so stupid. But I'm telling you, if you remember when the Chiefs moved on from Tyreek Hill, Chiefs fans were furious. Media was scratching their head saying, I can't believe that the Chiefs actually did that. And then it made sense why. So there's the blueprints are out there. The Bengals they're not innovative enough of a franchise to try to create their own path. We know how other teams are doing it, but this is how we're going to do it. You don't get that luxury. You are not a successful franchise. You're not a respected franchise. You don't have a cash-rich owner. You don't have an aggressive owner. You don't have a real GM. And you finally stumbled upon not just a real quarterback, but maybe the most talented quarterback in the NFL. And instead of letting that light shine on your franchise for all the positive things, it's just shedding light on how crappy your franchise actually is. All I'm saying is I look at how all of this has played out, and they come out today and announce that Duke Tobin and Zach Taylor are coming back like they're a 1-2 combo, like they're a package deal. I'm telling you right now, I don't care which head. You can go get any head coach you want out there. As long as Duke Tobin is drafting and making the free agent decisions based on the patterns that he has the last 3 years with the restrictions that he has. And if I hear this one more time, because I've heard this a lot from Bengals fans, they're going to have over $100 million in cap space this offseason. You guys told me that last season too. You guys told me that the season before that. And back-to-back off seasons, the Bengals brought $20 to $30 million into the season. They don't even spend it all. So, guys, stop wasting my time and stop buying into this BS narrative that we have all this cap space. What? You've had cap space for years. You went to back-to-back AFC championship games with your top 3 most explosive players on rookie deals and had nothing to show for it after. I don't trust Duke Tobin. You shouldn't trust Duke Tobin. And you want to convince and some of you want to convince me that Zach Taylor's the problem. Let's go 937-518-1410. AJ, if you're still there, you're on live, my friend.
Yeah, I'm still here, Justin. You and Shaw going back and forth. Sometimes you guys get each other so riled up that
we don't make sense.
You can kind of see the floor.
Yeah, I get it. I don't even know what I was arguing at the end. He was just sorry. Keep going.
So here's kind of layman's terms what I think Shaw was trying to say. Duke Tobin is bad at his job. He is a large portion of the problem.
Yep.
But there's a gray area there where Zach Taylor is not an elite coach. He's maybe a mediocre coach at best. He's been given lots of ingredients. It's like compared to like a chef with the ingredients that you get, right?
Yep.
You get the ingredients, you get elite ingredients for one dish for the offense, right? You have the highest level of ingredients. But your appetizer ingredients suck, your dessert ingredients suck, your side ingredients suck. There's only so much that you can do with that. Now, a Michelin 5-star chef will take those mediocre ingredients and pump something out that's decent, that's edible.
Yep.
But what we're looking at now is Zach Taylor isn't able to do that. Yeah, it's easy to make amazing dishes when you have the creme de la creme of ingredients, but he should at least be able to pull this team to 500. You know, he's Justin. You've seen him. You've seen his press conferences. Is he someone that would invigorate you and then want you to go and run through a wall for them?
Well, hold on.
Like,
You're ignoring
the millionaires. These are millionaires that he's working with. These guys are entitled. They shouldn't need motivation, but they also don't. They're fine if they go, whatever their score, whatever their record is. They're still going to get paid. So you need that extra push from a really good, excellent head coach to get people to outperform what their level is.
Well, hold on, AJ. you're not wrong, but also look at it this way. You just said, well, he couldn't get them to 500. He's gotten them to 500 or more for 4 straight seasons. And last year they got to 500 with the worst defense. Let me put it this way. If I was to tell you, not a blind resume thing here, but just any team out there, if I'm to tell you, hey, next season, this team, not the Bengals, but any team, there's going to be a team that their offensive line's not very good. They're going to be one of the worst run averaging teams in football. Their defense is going to be the absolute worst. So you have a historically bad defense. You have a bad offensive line that can't protect the quarterback, and you can't consistently run the football. What do you think their record's going to be? You're not going to say 9-10 wins, and that's what the Bengals have been over the last couple of years, even without Joe Burrow and even with all those deficiencies I just told you. So I disagree with you. I think Zach Taylor is motivating this team more than you guys think, because there's really no reason for this team to go out and win the games that they have won in recent years. This year was really bad, yes, but I mean, at some point that dam's going to break with all the deficiencies that this roster has.
Well, once they hit their elite level in 2021?
Yep. When that was the second,
since then.
Roster regressed
since then.
But the roster has
no
regressed.
Improvement.
The roster regressed. I
agree with you. I mean, I'm on record saying that, Duke Tobin, it'll be a cold day in hell before the Bengals get rid of Duke Tobin.
Yep.
So we just have to accept that. And what I think Shaw was trying to say is maybe the Bengals have accepted that. Hey, he's not that great of a guy, but he's pretty much part of the family now. And the Bengals are okay with mediocrity,
which
they're
also has
butts and seats.
But AJ,
so getting TV money.
But to get rid of Zach Taylor means you have to go get another head coach. This team is not going to spend a lot of money on a head coach, and this team does not make good decisions when it comes to team personnel. So Zach Taylor, who you win with, who has the one side of the ball humming, I would be very scared to even break that. That's at least working. I would be afraid to mess with what's working by counting on Duke Tobin to go find a head coach to come in here, because everyone could throw out all the big names they want. Bill Belichick, Mike McCarthy, all these successful head coaches. Last time they had a head coaching opening, they went and got Zach Taylor, who nobody heard of. So I don't trust that they're going to make the right decision to go get the replacement for a guy that has at least worked with Joe Burrow, who, by the way, has the vote of confidence of Joe Burrow. And I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, here's what I would say. If Zach Taylor, if this were the last year of his contract, he'd be gone. Bengals are not going to pay him to walk away and then go and pay another coach. I firmly believe that. I also feel like the Bengals realize what they have in Joe Burrow, and he has them by the – I don't know if you're allowed to say the word that I want to say on
cojones.
Radio, but
say cojones. Say
cojones.
There you go.
And they are terrified of another Carson Palmer situation.
Are they terrified though? What do you like last year when he threatened them during are they terrified though? What did they do last year to show you that they're terrified of him? Because I want to agree with you because they should be. I just don't know if they are. I mean, Because they signed T. Higgins when they should have traded him. Fair.
Because Joe Burrow was advocating for T. Higgins. They didn't want to upset him. And you're on record saying this. If you're that great of a quarterback, that elite of a quarterback, you don't need 2 number ones. And I've made this argument with some of my friends, and I'm like, all right, which of the elite quarterbacks have 2 number ones? And the only one that someone came back with was, Matt Stafford. But guess what? Puka Nacua is on a rookie contract.
Yep.
So everyone else is out there doing it just fine. The Eagles, but look what's going on with A.J. Brown. I mean, they're about ready to implode.
Yeah, and look how much had to go right on defense, not free agency. Now, they re-signed guys to their credit, but they didn't go out and fix that. They didn't build that defense in free agency. They had to do it through the draft. And the Chiefs, to their credit, when they moved on from Tyreek Hill, to keep that dynasty going, they had to draft and develop. But that's what a lot of those teams were doing, was drafting and developing, and that's something that the Bengals are just not doing. And until they do that, I don't care what cap space and free agency they do. It's all going to come down to drafting and developing. So that becomes
it's a copycat league. It's a copycat league. Here's what I would say: if we're going to do that, if we're going to copy a model, copy Philly's model and draft all defensive players from Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, But then what? I mean, so you want to go get, but then it goes back to you go get the ingredients, and then you don't have the chef. You guys want a better chef, knowing you're not going to get the ingredients, and it's like, can't we just live in a world where you have the chef and the best ingredients in the world? And until that happens, I think we're going to be AJ having these same arguments every single year. And AJ, if you ever take Shaw's side again, I'm dropping you from the show. I just got to be honest with you. All right, I don't like starting the new year with you taking Shaw's side.
I almost never take his side, but I saw where he was coming from. That it's not all that. Zach Taylor has a little bit of culpability in how this team performs.
Oh, I get that. I just think Duke Tobin plays a role in how they perform, but I think Duke Tobin is responsible for them coming up short because of just him not doing his job. But hey, AJ, I'm up against the clock, man. I hate to cut you off, but I do got to bounce.
You're good. Later, dude.
Take care, man. All right, 937-518-1410. Yeah. So we're live on the Justin Kinner Show we're live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. The show is not live anymore on the Facebook page, but the show will be, cut up, segments and interviews and all that stuff will be there, as well as other interactive content. But you could watch the show every day on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. So make sure you go and subscribe to that. I see a bunch. I see Shaw. I hung up on Shaw earlier. No better way to kick off the new year than hanging up on my guy Shaw over here. But I had to do it. It had to be done. But he's weighing in the chat on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. If you want to go check that out, go check that out. He's yelling at me like crazy. I have to read it during the break. I think my guy Chad's in there too. Chad Kinser. What up, Chad? You could also text the show, 937-518-1410. I see a lot coming in there. Man, my ADD is on fire today. I can't keep up with everything. All right. Hey, how about Shedeur Sanders? 1-0 against Joe Burrow. Loved it. Shedeur, man. Beating Aaron Rodgers. Beating Joe Burrow. Woo. Ain't no stopping him. Look out, world. Here comes Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, that wasn't pretty yesterday, but he won. I don't know what you win. Got a worse draft pick, but nonetheless. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast, mostly cloudy, 37 tonight. Chance of rain at 54 tomorrow. And on Wednesday, it's sunny at 52. I'm Rick Schmidt, 1410 ESPN Radio.
With Progressive Insurance, you could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com for more information. That's Progressive.com.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Jeff Wensing.
Educators have powerful voices, and in 2026, educators are using their voices to speak up for the funding, resources, and support our students need to learn, grow, and thrive. No exceptions. Together, we can deliver on the promise of a great public education for every child.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1 day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. AdventKnows.com. Most insurance accepted.
Protect your engine with Quaker State and save big money at Menards. Quaker State Full Synthetic Motor Oil is engineered to give your engine more power, more wear protection, longer engine life, and more performance, with improved resistance to engine stress at high engine speeds or under heavy loads. Check out all of our Quaker State products in-store and check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, this is Dr. Justin with Dayton Weight Loss Secret. Have you been asking yourself, what is the secret to getting my excess weight off fast and easy like a lot of other people seem to be doing? The secret is Dayton Weight Loss Secret. Our program helps you lose weight fast and easy with no exercise, no prepackaged meals, no drugs, and no surgery, no injections, and no need to be hungry. Our program helps reset your metabolism to keep the weight off for good. Schedule your free consultation at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com.
I was pre-diabetic before I started this, and I'm not anymore. I've gotten rid of medications. I mean, there is nothing better I can say except it will change your whole life.
The Dayton Weight Loss Secret program has successfully helped thousands of people lose up to 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Schedule your free consultation in person or virtually by calling 937-800-1070 or online at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com. Results may vary.
Logan Fury did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he bought a mini treadmill. Is walking on it during video conference calls more distracting than he thought? Yes. And is that because he overestimated his foot-eye coordination? Definitely. But it's Logan's savings, and if he wants to burn calories and any chance at a promotion, we say, good for you, Logan. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Happy New Year. If you're just joining us, the Justin Kinner Show, no longer on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, although we still utilize that page for select segments and all interviews. You could watch the Justin Kinner Show on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. So make sure you go and watch it there. If when you watch it on there, please always give it a thumbs up. Even if you want to give it a thumbs down or me the middle finger, I'll make you a deal. You can give me the middle finger. Just make sure you give it a thumbs up. All right. That helps grow the show. And bosses are on me about building the YouTube channel. So that's what my goal is. And I'm not very liked, and it's not like I'm on a big station. So I have to overcompensate in other areas, and social media is where they want me to obviously move that attention towards the YouTube channel. I just ask for your help. Go to the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, give it a like, subscribe. And when you watch the show, always like the show as far as that goes. So we welcome you back. A lot of time on the Bengals today. Rightfully so. It sucks. Like the season's done. Like, what the heck? Season's over with. And I threw the question out earlier. So the Bengals announced they're bringing back Duke Tobin, they're bringing back Zach Taylor. And I said, which one hurts this team the most? Which one is a bigger problem when it comes to the development of this team? And I don't think it's even close. It has to be Duke Tobin. I'm taken back at how many of you are coming at me and saying that it's Zach Taylor. Guys, if Andy Reid was the head coach of this team, I don't really see results being that much different. Andy Reid is viewed as the best coach in the NFL right now. And I went and looked. The Chiefs lost to the Raiders. The worst team in the NFL beat the Chiefs yesterday with the best head coach in the NFL. Maybe the best coach ever based on the recent run that they just went on, the most recent dynasty in the NFL. And Chiefs fans are ripping the play calling, questioning Andy Reid's play calling ability, questioning his leadership, questioning the players' desire to play for him because of the effort that they put forth yesterday. And I'm like, the Chiefs roster is this is the worst Chiefs roster since Patrick Mahomes was drafted. There's no Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce is their number one pass catcher, and he's like 85 years old, and he's still on the Eras Tour right now. So, like, all of a sudden, when you don't have a lot of good things around you, you don't look like you're as good of a coach. And Zach Taylor is not Andy Reid. But if Andy Reid can't overcome a lot of the things that are going wrong with the Chiefs, I have a hard time believing that Andy Reid could overcome the worst defense in the NFL, off a run game that they can't run the football. An offensive line, we've seen that, well, Andy Reid all of a sudden looks like less of a good coach when the Chiefs' O-line isn't good. We saw what happened when they got destroyed in the Super Bowl by the Buccaneers years ago. Andy Reid didn't look like a good coach then, and he is, by the way. It's just sometimes you can't overcome things. You know, Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL. But when his offensive line was bad in the Super Bowl against the Bucs, guess what? He didn't look like the best coach in the NFL. When Andy Reid last year, when the defense wasn't as good as what it's been in recent years, when the O-line is as bad as it was, they couldn't run the football last year. They still somehow made it to the Super Bowl for the third straight year. But guess what? Andy Reid didn't look as good of a head coach in last year's Super Bowl as what he has in recent years. It's because the roster is not as good. So to say that Zach Taylor should all of a sudden have this team in the playoffs when they have a historically bad defense, they can't protect the quarterback, and are always in the bottom 5 when it comes to the run game. And Zach Taylor's not Andy Reid, and you expect Zach Taylor to do more. It doesn't make any sense to me. Duke Tobin, if you're going to have a coach that is not a top 5 coach, and I'll never argue that Zach Taylor is, but even with how many coaches could finish above 500 in back-to-back seasons when you lose your starting quarterback, and not just any starting quarterback, Joe Burrow? Okay, 2 years ago, they lose Joe Burrow in the middle of the season. They threw out Jake Browning, a backup quarterback. Defense was one of the worst in the league. The offensive line was atrocious. They couldn't run the football, and they still finished above 500. Last year, you had Joe Burrow, you had Jamar Chase, you had T. Higgins. Joe Burrow had a career season, would have won MVP if they probably would have won one more game. But they couldn't protect Joe Burrow. They couldn't run the football, and the defense was historically bad last year, and they still finished above 500. This year, no Joe Burrow. Somehow, historically bad defense got even historically worse. Sure, the run game, Brown had a couple big games, and, statistically, when you combine what he does in the pass game and the run game, his numbers look great, but I need a running back. Like, I don't need you to be a wide receiver. I don't care what Brown does in the pass game. That's what you paid $70 freaking million a year for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I don't need Brown to be a weapon in the pass game. I need him to be a running back. And you're saying, well, Zach Taylor should run the football more. I think Zach Taylor would run the football more if he felt that his guy could handle the ground and pound that's necessary to run the football more. Zach Taylor's not the problem. He's just not. I'm sorry that I'm spending so much time on this. I need to move on. But Chad Kinser on YouTube, again, the Justin Kinser Show YouTube channel. Make sure you give the show a like. Give me the middle finger if you want, but give the show a like, I beg you. Chad Kinser on YouTube says, not sure if you've seen the text. Again, you could text the show, 937-518-1410. Chad said, not sure if you saw my text, but I said they needed to fire Duke Tobin. He called him an A clown, by the way. Oh, no, he called the D coordinator an A clown. And he said the problem isn't Taylor. The ownership is the problem. Because years ago, by the way, Zach Taylor, years ago when Joe Burrow was playing at a high level, when Joe Mixon was running the football at a high level, when the defense was getting stops and forcing turnovers and playing at a high level, Zach Taylor led him to a Super Bowl. 3 years ago, when Joe Mixon was running the football, when the defense was getting stops, getting to the quarterback, forcing turnovers, and Joe Burrow was healthy, Zach Taylor got him to their second straight AFC championship game. But then when the roster, who Duke Tobin's responsible for, fell off a cliff, now you're blaming Zach Taylor. I'm with you, Chad. Zach, could they improve at head coach? Oh, yes. Yes. Are there better coaches out there? Yes. But what's the point of going to get a better head coach if you're not? What's the point of going to get a better chef if you're not going to improve the ingredients? That's what it all comes down to. But nonetheless, Shaw says, at the end of the day, we both hate the Bengals, Justin, and this topic has me defending them, makes me sick. At the end of the day, I don't think you were paying attention to the topic. The topic was, who do you blame more? You're saying that both are the problem. I don't think Zach Taylor's the solution. I just don't think he's the problem. I think that the problem is Duke Tobin. And as a Browns fan, I love it. I love it. But nonetheless. So, all right. So yesterday, how about it? Yesterday, I couldn't wait to see my very first Shedeur Sanders versus Joe Burrow showdown. And, it's exactly, it was as horrendous as what you would expect for two non-NFL playoff teams in the state of Ohio to be. A 5-win Browns team and a 6-win Bengals team going head-to-head. They opened up the season against one another. They closed out the regular season against one another. They kicked off the season with one of the ugliest games in the history of the NFL that set the NFL back 100 years, and they closed out the regular season with a beyond ugly game that set the NFL back another 200 years. Joe Burrow continues his recent trend of turning the ball over, a pick six. The defense for the Browns doing what they do. They put 14 of the Browns' 20 points up on the board. I mean, the offense didn't muster up anything yesterday. Now, before you say anything, Shedeur Sanders looked horrible. Well, yeah. Who's his wide receivers? Nobody. His offensive line doesn't have one. His running backs. The best rookie running back in the NFL was Quinshon Judkins, and he's out and probably out for the good chunk of next year as well. So, for Shedeur Sanders to complete 11 of his 22 passes for 111 yards, you know what? I'd say I'll take it. Because Joe Burrow threw for 236 yards. He also had 10 incompletions, just like Shedeur had 10 incompletions. And Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Shedeur doesn't get the luxury. You're going to sit there and point out how bad Shedeur looks. Shedeur is not Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But I tell you what Shedeur did have. He had the game-winning drive. He had the cojones on the road in front of a fan base that really wanted to send them out with the wind, at least, send the team, give the team some momentum heading into the offseason. And Shedeur led him right down the field, set the team up for a game-winning field goal, and the Browns walk it off and close out the season with their 5th win. Should have been their 6th win. They should have won in week 1, by the way. Oh, yeah, it's a game that we'll all be talking about years from now. Where were you when Shedeur Sanders led the Browns on a game-winning drive in Cincinnati in a battle of 5- and 6-win teams to close out the regular season on a non-playoff season for both teams? I'll always remember it. It was fantastic. It is what it is. Shaw says, I beg you, don't brag about that performance. I'm not bragging about the performance, but my goodness, Cleveland. Please, if we're going to sit there and try to judge who Shedeur Sanders is, you can't not give him weapons and expect to have a true feel for who he is. I think the fact that he was not great. He was not good against the Steelers. He was not good against the Cincinnati Bengals, but he did just enough. He was very good, actually, in the first half against the Steelers. He just disappeared in the second half, and he was good when he needed to be in that final drive of the game to set up the game-winning field goal. There's something there. There's something there. And and the reason I know that there's something there, Dylan Gabriel, there's nothing there. And Dylan Gabriel had healthy wide receivers. He had a better offensive line when he was the starter. He had more weapons across the board and couldn't do a dang thing. Shedeur has way less and doesn't look elite by any means, but my goodness, just that drive that he has, that will that he has, finds ways to keep his team in it, even when he makes mistakes. And rookies aren't going to be perfect. Joe Burrow is 6 years in the league. He's only made the playoffs twice, and he can't stop turning the ball over since he returned from injury. He still makes mistakes. So I think that Cleveland, I'm not saying they have their quarterback for the next 10 years, but I think that they have their quarterback to head into next season and say, we're going to war with this guy. I think Dylan Gabriel wasn't willing you to anything. He was willing. The only thing he willed me to do was to turn the damn game off. Shedeur makes me believe that even when he's not playing great, that there's still a chance. And he beat Aaron Rodgers, who led the Steelers to the AFC North Championship this year, and he led the Browns to a win over Joe Burrow in Cincinnati on the road in the final drive when the lights were the brightest. So I'll take it. You're going to say don't brag about it. I'm not bragging about it, but I'm not going to bury it either, like a lot of you want to do, and act like it wasn't a big deal. Oh, his numbers were horrible. Well, how many quarterbacks are going to put up any numbers when you have no one to throw the ball to? Joe Burrow's numbers weren't great yesterday, and look at all who he has to throw the ball to. I mean, Shaw, you tried telling me that he has the best. I mean, that Chase Brown should have won MVP this year, best running back in the NFL, according to Shaw and some of you delusional Bengal fans. He has 2 number 1 wide receivers. I don't know. I'll take it. Shedeur 1-0 against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And then the Browns today announced that they are moving on from Kevin Stefanski. And I'm torn on this. I do got to say, though, like I've said before, if I like, and Keith Byers, I worked his show earlier today as well, and he has said it many times. Like Bill Belichick, like he said, at some point you have to move on from a head coach, and it doesn't mean that coach can't coach anymore. It just means he can't coach your team anymore. At a certain point, the message runs stale. And I think that Kevin Stefanski's message in that locker room ran stale. But whether it was his fault or not, with all the losing that has happened in Cleveland, and it's happened no matter who the head coach is, but I think at a certain point when you are a player, you walk in the locker room and you're making eye contact with your head coach, at a certain point, no matter what he says, with all the losing that comes with it, nothing he says is going to make you feel like, oh, if we do it this way, we're going to win. Like Kevin Stefanski is going to go be a head coach somewhere, and he's going to have success. I like Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, led the Browns to the playoffs on 2 different occasions, once with Baker Mayfield and once with a 40-year-old quarterback coming off his couch in the middle of the season, past the halfway point of the season. 2 great, memorable seasons. And I appreciate it. And not all the issues were his fault. Just like I defended Zach Taylor. None of the problems were his fault. I'm not advocating for Stefanski to lose his job. I'm not happy that he lost his job, but I understand it. Just like if the Bengals would have moved on from Zach Taylor, I would have said, yeah, I get it. I get why they moved on from Zach Taylor, but I also would have said, I think moving on from Zach Taylor might be a mistake because I don't think they were Zach Taylor issues. I don't think these were Kevin Stefanski issues, but there's enough there to say, yeah, we need to go in a different direction. I think they need a fresh head coach in there that when they look at that head coach and he says, we're going to do it this way so we can start winning games, you're going to believe that coach. I don't think players believe Kevin Stefanski anymore, and it's not because of him, the person, but it's because of you just associate all the losing with Kevin Stefanski. All the losing over the years. He's been the guy that you've looked to turn it around, and he's done it on a few occasions, but I think that well ran dry. I don't mind moving on from Kevin Stefanski. I think it's a weak head coaching cycle. I don't think there's a lot of big names out there. I think that this team needs an offensive-minded coach. That's why I like Stefanski. That's why I like Zach Taylor. I think that to win in this league, you need an offensive-minded coach. You look at the best teams in the NFL right now, all led by offensive-minded coaches. Sean Payton does not have the best quarterback in the NFL, not even close. But they're one of the best teams in the NFL. Right? Like the Packers, offensive-minded coach, one of the best teams in the NFL. You look at the Seahawks, you go down the list, all the top teams, the Bills, all the top teams in the NFL. The Chiefs, I know, aren't good this year, but I mean, come on, Patrick Mahomes is an offensive-minded coach. You need an offensive-minded coach. And that's my problem with this coaching cycle is that when you think of the Jeff Hafleys and the Jesse Minters, even Jim Schwartz, I mean, these guys are all defensive-minded guys, and I'm a blueprint guy. And I said I would be a hypocrite if I said that the Browns can go a defensive-minded head coach and carve out their own niche. I would be a hypocrite based on what I said about the Bengals earlier. If you are a successful, well-run organization, I don't mind if you go a route that is a little different, that is a little outside of the box. You know, I don't trust that the Browns can hire a defensive-minded head coach and fix the offense. You know, I don't trust that a team like the Bengals with a weak front office could put $125 million into 3 players on one side of the ball and draft and develop well to fill the gaps everywhere else. That's why I never believed that the Bengals should have done what they did, because they're not a good enough organization to do it. The Eagles did it, but they're a healthy enough organization to do it. They put $60+ million into 2 wide receivers and $50 into a quarterback, but they know how to draft and develop. Like some organizations, I can look at and say, yeah, that's not what the other teams that are that's not what the other good teams are doing, but you're a good enough organization to do it, and I'll trust you. I don't trust the Bengals to do outside the box stuff, and I don't trust the Browns to do outside the box stuff. So what direction do the Browns go in from here? I don't know. I don't think that there's a head coach out there that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But I do think that there are that they needed a new coach to put up at the front of that room that they can look at and say, yeah, let's times are changing. Things are different now. So, I mean, at the end of the day, where do they go? Who knows? I do know this. I put a list together of my top 5 Browns head coaching candidates. And these are based on guys that, are available. And what I mean by available is some of these guys are current coordinators right now. But there are 2 names that I'm going to keep an eye on that I would love to see in Cleveland. I think that McDaniels over with the Dolphins. There's a lot of talk of them moving on from McDaniels after this season. If McDaniels is available, I want Cleveland to grab him. And I want him to do everything he can to keep Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator. There's also a lot of rumblings about Matt LaFleur over with the Packers. Matt LaFleur, everyone made a big deal about Zach Taylor's contract. Zach Taylor came into this season, okay? Zach Taylor came into this season. Everyone thought into the final year of the contract, found out that there's another year of the contract. Okay, cool. But the bottom line is that like the Green Bay Packers, who have had success with Matt LaFleur, they have not extended his contract. His contract's up at the end of the season, and there's many people that believe that the Packers are thinking about going in a different direction. Kevin Stefanski's a name that's being floated around as the potential replacement for Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. And if Matt LaFleur is available, I would love him in Cleveland. So, now selfishly, the LaFleur family is actually related to my wife's family, so selfishly, I would love to, have an in to get better Browns tickets. I'm just selfishly, that's what I really want, to be quite honest with you. Shout out to the LaFleurs, by the way. But that's besides the point. Like, I sit here right now and I'm like, if the Browns can go get a McDaniels or get a LaFleur, that's what I want. If one of those 2 are available, if both are available, I don't care which one it is. Okay? Matt LaFleur handled the prickly Aaron Rodgers. He handled the transition of post-great quarterback Aaron Rodgers to the development of the new face of the franchise, Jordan Love. I want LaFleur. I think he could do it in Cleveland. I think that locker room, that he didn't, when Aaron Rodgers was throwing him under the bus, he found a way to keep that locker room to believe in him. He got that locker room to believe. Why the Packers would move on from him, I don't know. I think it's just one of those where, okay, we're winning every year now, but at a certain point, you got to take us to that next level. I would kill for the Browns to get to the point of, oh, man, we keep making the playoffs, but we're just not getting where we want to go. And Bengals fans, I'm sure you would love to go back to the Marvin Lewis era with Joe Burrow, of course. I'm sure you would love to get back to I'm sure that you would kill for the days of, man, remember back in the day when you get to the playoffs every year and we just couldn't win in the playoffs? Those days seem so much brighter than the days that you're in now. Getting to the playoffs every year with Andy Dalton and not being able to win once you got there still seems better to me than, well, you have a quarterback with a speech impediment that is boring as can be when he talks. Okay. But can't even make the playoffs with him. Those problems are, I would much rather, as a Browns fan, be a fan of a team that gets to the playoffs every year and just can't figure it out once you get there. I'll deal with those problems when they come. Right now, the team's current problem is you can't get to the playoffs. That's where I'm at. So give me Matt LaFleur, give me McDaniels. I'll take it. I'll take it as far as that goes. But I did not include them on my top 5 list of coaches because they're not available at the moment. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as that goes. So we'll see. Ron, yes, you said, talked about, new culture in Cleveland. I think that's why I would love to go after LaFleur or to go after McDaniels with the Dolphins. So we'll see what happens. But the top 5, my top 5 list, and by the way, you guys are going to think I'm crazy. This list is put together based on how I think the front office operates. Okay. That's how I think the front office operates. And this is why number 5 on my list, Cleveland always goes all in with their quarterback. They went out and went all in on Deshaun Watson. And when they believed in Deshaun Watson, they went all out for Deshaun Watson. They spent all sorts of money. They, they reworked contracts. They've rolled over contracts. They gave signing bonuses to take money off the books. They did everything in their power because they believed in Deshaun Watson. Now, it didn't work out, but I say what you want about the Browns front office. I saw people ripping them today. They deserve it, yes. But again, I will take a front office that goes all out for their quarterback over a team like the Bengals who has Joe Burrow and doesn't do anything for him. So, whatever. That's where I'm at mentally when it comes to this. But if Shedeur Sanders is the guy, what coach out there can get the most out of Shedeur Sanders? If the front office believes in Shedeur Sanders, if he is their guy heading into next season and moving forward, if this is their new franchise quarterback, they need a coach that can get the most out of him. And you got to think of it like this. When Shedeur starts having success, it's going to be very hard to deal with Shedeur's ego and attitude. And I don't know if a McDaniels could deal with that. I don't know if a Matt LaFleur, even though he dealt with Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he could deal with it. I don't think there's a coach out there that could deal with that, except for one, and that's Deion Sanders. I'm not saying it would work, but if you're going to go all in on Shedeur Sanders, I don't think there's a coach out there that can truly hone him in and maximize his talent than his own father in Deion Sanders. Because it's a weak coaching cycle, I don't think it's as crazy as what it sounds to entertain the idea of Deion Sanders in Cleveland as their next head coach. And y'all think I'm crazy. You saw the videos. Cleveland made such a big deal when Deion was in town to watch Shedeur. How many clips did they share of the Haslams bringing Deion and the family? They go on a little walk together, and you don't think that they're talking about the future? Guys, I don't think it's that crazy. And I called this years ago. I called it 2 years ago. I said, watch, if Cleveland ever gets their hands on Shedeur, I promise you Deion will be their next head coach. I think it's still trending in that direction. I think it's still a possibility. So at number 5 on my list, I have Deion Sanders as a top 5 coaching candidate for the Cleveland Browns. And you guys can roll your eyes all you want. But if Shedeur is their franchise quarterback moving forward, if they are going to move forward with him, because you're not getting Mendoza. Okay, you're not going to get Mendoza. And the quarterback at Oregon, with where we're at right now, the quarterback at Oregon could just explode and have a monster game against Indiana and lead Oregon to a national championship, and maybe we'll have a different conversation. But the Jets are sitting there at 2, and they need a quarterback as well. The Browns aren't getting the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft, and there's still a lot of question marks at just how good either of those 2 quarterbacks are in this draft. So don't start this all over again. I think you could win with Shedeur. Shedeur just won the last 2 games of the regular season, against significantly better quarterbacks at this point with no talent around him. Found ways to get it done. If Shedeur is the guy moving forward, there's only one coach that I truly think can get the most out of him, and that's Deion Sanders. So I have Deion at number 5. At number 4, all right, at number 4 on this list as we sit here right now, and keep in mind, I don't like my list because I don't like the options that are available. All right, and I said earlier, the only reason I didn't include McDaniels from the Dolphins or Matt LaFleur from the Packers is because they haven't been released yet, so they're not available yet. And I know you could say, well, okay, some of these coordinators, they're not available yet either, but coordinators are always going to leave for a head coaching opportunity if they like it. So at number 4, I want the Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, but Jeff Hafley is one of the top up-and-coming coordinators out there. He left the college ranks, once affiliated with Ohio State, then goes to Boston College, and then leaves college as a head coach. Now it's not that surprising when coaches do that, but when Hafley left Boston College, when he left the college ranks to go be an assistant in the NFL, that kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. But I like Jeff Hafley at number 4. If Jeff Hafley becomes the Browns head coach, that means you're going out and getting one of the biggest names, the up-and-coming names and coordinators out there. I'm fine with that. I have Jesse Minter at number 3. It pains me, but you know what? If the Browns are going to be without Jim Schwartz, to me, it's one of those things at number 3, Jesse Minter. I think that he's a phenomenal defensive mind. He's a winner, a cheater, but a winner. And to me, a guy that cheats like that to win means he's going to do everything in his power to get something done. So you know what? More power to him. No, but in all seriousness, he's the Chargers DC. Chargers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. So do the Browns. Come in with the defensive mindset and at least continue to be that, have the defense be the identity of that team. I'm fine with Jesse Minter. Number 2, the reason I have Jim Schwartz at number 2 on this list is because if you're going to hire any defensive mind, why would you go outside of anyone but the guy that has made the Browns defense so dangerous over the years. The Browns defense was bad 3 years ago. They brought in Jim Schwartz. They didn't make a lot of changes to the defense. They just brought in a different chef. They brought in Jim Schwartz, the chef, and gave him the same ingredients that they were bad with the 2 years before and were instantly dominant. They went from the back half of defenses in the NFL to top 5 the second Jim Schwartz stepped, in as defensive coordinator. They're older. They need to fine-tune some things. But you know what? Jim Schwartz, if you're going to go the defensive route of hiring a head coach, I would make Jim Schwartz the head coach now. And you would have to do everything in your power to find an up-and-coming offensive-minded coach. Maybe it's in the college ranks. I don't care. Maybe I just think at the end of the day, if you're going to hire a defensive coordinator as a head coach, you have one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL already there, and you already know it works. I would make Jim Schwartz the head coach at number 2. But number 1, based on what's available, and again, keep in mind, it is not a sexy coaching class right now. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I think you need to go out and get a head coach that knows how to deal with a dysfunctional front office. I think you need to go and get a head coach that knows how to deal with prickly quarterbacks. I think you need to go get a head coach that literally knows nothing but winning. And that is Mike McCarthy. And I'm not going to lie to you. If the Bengals moved on from Zach Taylor, I would be screaming from the mountaintop that the Bengals need Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, the Packers' offensive numbers with Mike McCarthy, top 5 every year. The Dallas Cowboys, say what you want about them. They didn't put a lot of stock into their defense financially, okay? But offensively, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and company, and, always top 5 in the league with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is a leader. Mike McCarthy has won a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy, he'll own the room. And I think Mike McCarthy would be able, he's had to deal with Jerry Jones. He's had to deal with Aaron Rodgers. I think he could deal with Shedeur Sanders. I really do. And again, I say all of this saying that this list is not great, but I don't think there's a great pool of candidates out there. So one more time, my top 5 Browns head coaching candidates. At number 5, I put Deion Sanders on that list. If the Browns are going to move forward with Shedeur Sanders as their quarterback, there's only one coach out there that I think can get the most out of him, and that's Deion Sanders. And the one thing that the Browns do better than anything is when they do pick their quarterback, to their credit, they go all out for their quarterback, and they do everything to get every resource possible to get the most out of said quarterback. So I think Deion makes sense from that perspective. Oh, but look what he's doing in Colorado. I get that. But Colorado, they're not an NIL hotbed. They don't have the best players over there. I think that there's a lot of coaches who are, I just think you need to be, I think to be a great head coach, I think you have to have a personality that could deal with other personalities. I think you need to be able to control and work a room. And I think Deion checks all those boxes. The only thing Deion needs to do to be successful in the NFL is to make sure that he hires the best coordinators possible. I think people will follow Deion Sanders. He has that cult-like personality. I think he can work in the right situation in the NFL. But coaching Shedeur, let's be honest, though. Shedeur was at his best with Deion coaching him. Deion was at his best coaching Shedeur. So if Shedeur's your guy moving forward, I'm moving forward. I'm kicking the tires on Deion Sanders. Number 4, I said, and again, number 4, 4 and 3 are very good up-and-coming coordinators in the NFL ranks defensively, and that's Jeff Hafley with the Packers and Jesse Minter with the Chargers. I don't want them to go that route because I don't think, you look at the successful teams today, it's offensive-minded coaches, but these are very good coordinators, and if this is who you end up with, I don't think it's the end of the world. Based on what's available, I think these are very good options. And if you are going to go the defensive coordinator route, you have one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. That's why I have Jim Schwartz at number 2. Jim Schwartz at number 2. If a defensive coach is going to take over as head coach of this Browns team, they need to reward Jim Schwartz for turning this defense around and putting them in position. The only reason they've had chances to win over the last 2 years is because of that defense. That defense has been the whole identity of that organization. So get Jim Schwartz and go find an up-and-coming coordinator, and that's the rule for a lot of this stuff. And then number 1 on my list, it's not the sexiest name out there, but I think it's the best one out there, Mike McCarthy. He's an adult. He has experience. All right. I don't think you need to take a young roster that the Browns have and add a young head coach and let the young head coach and the young players try to figure it out together underneath a crappy umbrella that is the Cleveland Browns. I don't trust the Browns that way. But Mike McCarthy, who has been able to deal with the ego of a Jerry Jones, to deal with the ego of an Aaron Rodgers, and to win in spite of all that, he's been able to win in tough environments, to win with an Aaron Rodgers, to win coaching for Jerry Jones, I think he could win in Cleveland coaching for the Haslams and coaching Shedeur Sanders with that defense. So that's my list. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Who are your top 5 coaching candidates to take over the Cleveland Browns? 937-518-1410. Is Deion Sanders that bad of a name? I got ripped for that all day today. I'm curious. With what I explained, now that you've heard me out, is Deion as bad of an option as you think? Based on what I said, if the Browns are going to hitch their wagon to Shedeur moving forward, if they're saying, hey, we're going to move forward with him, they're going to ask themselves, what do we have to do to get the most out of him? Well, Shedeur has always been the most successful with his dad coaching him. And Deion has always been the most successful coaching his son. So why wouldn't you look at it? Deion would have to get good coordinators, yes, but that's no different than any head coach that you go hire. Maybe I should move Deion higher up in this list. I think I might rework this list. I might put Mike McCarthy 1. I think I would put Deion Sanders at number 2. But Deion, the caveat being, assuming you're moving forward with Shedeur. If you're not moving on with Shedeur, Deion doesn't even need to be on this list or talked about. But who knows how this Browns front office is going to operate. We'll see what happens. 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Amy Cox did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. And with that money, she decided to treat herself to an anti-aging red light mask. Will she look like a horror movie villain every night? Yes. Will her boyfriend Kevin be scarred for life? That's certainly a risk. But it's Amy's savings, and if she's willing to risk her relationship for smooth, wrinkle-free skin, well, bye-bye, Kevin. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
It's really been amazing, the amount of people that I've had contact me, and the talk is generally centered around QC Kinetics, and whether it's a knee, whether it's a back, a hip, shoulder.
He's always happy to talk about how QC Kinetics all-natural regenerative treatments finally gave him relief without surgery. That's former pro football player Bobby Carpenter.
My message to them is do not wait and push off a week, a month, whatever it is. So if you want to feel better this summer, now would be the time to get in. If you want to feel better in the fall, make sure that you're getting in here so you can go out and play golf and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Spoken by a man who experienced relief firsthand. QC Kinetics gave this former pro athlete back his mobility, his activity, and they'll do the same for you.
Has really helped me in just my general quality of life.
Don't wait. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today. QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's radio home for Wright State Raiders basketball. Coming up here tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Wright State Basketball Coaches Show, live from Modex. We're going to be out at Modex from 6 to 7. Chris Collins, Jim Brown, the radio voices, of course, will be with Clint Sargent. And a couple of the players for the Raiders, of course, will be live out at Modex. It's, the Tequila Bistro. It's right across, from the movie theater over at the Green. So if you're out and about, Go check that out. We'll have tickets will be given away for the Raiders when they return home in mid-January. Wright State sitting atop the conference early. They're 5 conference games in. They're 4-1. Their only loss, a 1-point loss on the road at Youngstown State. Wright State's rolling right now. And they just Kellen Pickett, he's a freshman for Wright State. He just got named the freshman of the week out of the conference. And the reason that's significant is, it's one thing to be a freshman, and I have nothing against redshirt freshmen whatsoever, but I do think it's very, very tough to play true freshmen. To bring in players that a year ago were sitting in study hall, to bring in players that a year ago were in high school, at their high school, supporting their high school football teams and just being high schoolers. And here they are a year later, and they are playing major roles in the success of Division I basketball teams. And Wright State has 2 legit freshmen. One's named Michael Cooper. And I know they get on us a lot about not highlighting this, but the chances of Michael Cooper sticking around long-term past this season, very slim. But that's how stupid talented this kid is. All right, he's a Big Ten. He's a Power 4 caliber talent. All right, and the coaching staff at Wright State, they jumped on him early. He loved the coaching staff, loved the culture, and he's been a great fit, and he's been a big reason why this team has had the success that they've had. But he got hurt and should be back soon. I haven't been told much. I just know he should be back soon, but he's their leading scorer. He does everything for him. He's been out the last 2 games, and they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. And the top 2 teams in the conference, according to preseason polls, Wright State just beat both of them. And we just got back from Indianapolis yesterday. They beat IU Indy without their leading scorer. And Kellen Pickett, another true freshman who at the beginning of the season was coming off the bench. He has amazing size. I think he's gotten taller, and he just won player of the freshman of the week. I think the kid's unreal. This is a fun team to watch, guys. They are a very good basketball team. They took their lumps early, but they played a very good schedule, a non-con, and it prepared them for this. And I'm watching them with all those losses, and I'm like, man, they might have some growing pains in the league. And I'm like, oh, they just went through the best teams in the conference. They lost by 1 to one of the top teams in the conference on the road in the final possession, and then they've beaten Milwaukee. They beat Oakland, who went on that magic run in the NCAA tournament a few years ago. Always well coached. This is a legit team. They're going to be back in mid-January at home. They're going to be in Detroit this weekend. But the coaches show tonight, hear from Clint Sargent. But that team's getting better. But like I said, Michael Cooper is unbelievable. Hopefully they get him back soon. But Kellen Pickett just won that Freshman of the Week award. I think the kid's great. And this team is very, very good, and they're fun to watch. We're going to make sure that we get as many of you tickets as possible to go support the Raiders at the Nutter Center when they return home, coming up here around the corner. All right. So I talked about the fact that, hey, I would love the idea of Deion being the coach in Cleveland. I know it's not a popular pick, but all of that is honestly, Deion being the coach in Cleveland is simply based on if the Browns are moving forward with Shedeur as their quarterback. The Browns, say what you want about them, but they've always been very good at going above and beyond, doing what they need to provide all the resources possible for their guy to succeed. Now, they haven't succeeded, but they put pieces in place to allow they went all out for Deshaun Watson. I know it didn't work, but don't sit there and act like Cleveland didn't do everything in their power. They provided him one of the best run games in football, the best offensive lines in football. They went and got him wide receivers. They got him tight ends. They did everything they could. Deshaun didn't carry his end of the bargain. Right? Like Cleveland's always, but they go above and beyond. When they had Baker Mayfield, all right, what do? Oh, we have a quarterback. Oh, cool. What do we got to give up to go get, at the time, the best wide receiver available in football, Odell Beckham Jr.? Again, it didn't work out, but don't act like Cleveland doesn't do everything in their power to help their quarterback. So if you think about Shedeur Sanders, who needs a lot of help, and it's not all because of him. I mean, this roster has a lot of deficiencies offensively. All right, this is I think it's the first time in decades that a team finished with a rookie leading them in passing, a rookie leading them in receiving, and a rookie leading them in rushing yards. And a rookie leading them in tackles, by the way. They had 4 rookies lead them in all major statistical categories this year. A rookie in the Schlesinger linebacker out of UCLA led them in tackles. Quinshon Judkins led them in rushing yards. The tight end who I loved coming out of Bowling Green led them in receiving yards, and Shedeur led them in passing yards. So this team is stupid young on the offensive side of the ball. But how do you get the most out of Shedeur Sanders? Well, I think you have to look at who got the most out of him throughout his entire career. That's Deion Sanders. Well, I don't know about Deion. Well, Who did Deion have the most success with throughout his career? Oh, his son, Shedeur Sanders. I think it works. Yeah, but Deion, is he an offensive? Is he a defense? It's up to Deion to get the offensive and defensive coordinators to work. And I think Andrew Berry's going to help with that. Now, on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, I appreciate Mr. Groobs is his name, but Mr. Groobs on YouTube reaches out. He said he's not a big fan of Deion as NFL head coach. Hasn't done great in a very weak Big 12 outside of recruiting. Health problems would be a hurdle. Handcuffs us to Shedeur as a quarterback, where I'd like to have an opt-out. One thing I didn't consider about that is the health issues. But you talked about an opt-out. I'm not accusing Deion of faking these things. These had some major life, some major health scares in recent years. But like sometimes I feel like he likes to put the health stuff out there as much as he does, so that if things start to go haywire at Colorado, he can use that as the opt-out himself instead of saying, hey, I'm not fired or I didn't fail at this. My health is keeping me from being able to do this. I'm not trying to sound insensitive to that, by the way, but like, I think we know how this stuff works a lot of times, right? Like, I think that you bring up a good point about the health, and you're looking at it as hiring him handcuffs you to Shedeur. I would be concerned about that, I guess, from that perspective, because I'm just assuming Shedeur is going to work out. But if he doesn't, is Deion really going to bench his kid? So those are fair counterpoints as far as that goes. So thank you for that take. I appreciate that take. I think that's an interesting one. Kelly Rogers on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel says if Stefanski gets another coaching job right away, that means the Browns made a mistake again. No, I think that he is going to get a head coaching job right away. And I see what you're saying, but I talked about this with Keith Byers earlier today. Sometimes a head coach, the message runs stale over time. Kevin Stefanski is going to go be very successful, whether it's in Philadelphia, wherever he ends up, whether it's Minnesota. He ain't going to go to Minnesota. Minnesota has a fine head coach. But he's going to have success in Miami. He's going to have success if he goes to Green Bay, where the Raiders, wherever he ends up, he's going to be successful. And I don't think that it would be a mistake of the Browns to move on. There is so much losing that has happened under his watch. Not all of it is his fault. But at a certain point, the players walking into that locker room every day, Kelly, they're looking at him, and this is according to Keith Byers, at a certain point when you're losing so much, it doesn't matter if you have Vince Lombardi up there. If you've lost so much under Vince Lombardi, his message is going to run stale. Doesn't mean he's a bad coach. It just means that it's time for him to leave. We run into that in our jobs all the time. It's not that we're bad at our jobs, but sometimes you overstay your welcome. And I think that's what's happened with Kevin Stefanski. I disagree with you on that. That I disagree on. I don't think it would be a problem. Kelly also says, I never understood. So Kelly's talking about the fact that when I highlighted, I don't like the idea of hiring a defensive coordinator as a head coach. Kelly says, I've never understood what would make a difference, offensive or defensive minded coaches. A defensive coordinator has to know offense as well. I think you're only as good as your coordinators. I mean, to be fair, Ryan Day is an offensive genius, but yet when Ryan Day is calling the plays, Ohio State looks like they've taken major steps back, right? So I guess I see your point there, but I also, it's a copycat league, and the best teams in the NFL all have offensive-minded head coaches. And I think that's what the NFL is all about. People could say, well, you have to have a good defense to win in the NFL today. I mean, the Bengals, they had a historically bad defense the last 2 years and finished above 500 in both of them. The Browns had a top 5 defense the last 2 years and are picking top 5 in the draft back-to-back years. Like, it's always about the offense. The offense, more offense at the end of the day. So we'll see. But I'm out of time. I appreciate – oh, wow, I'm way over time. My apologies. New year, same me, apparently. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out. We'll do this again tomorrow. We're back off and rolling. Finally, a routine. Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 o'clock, the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Make sure, so the show is available on demand now. Wherever you get your podcast, just search Justin Kinner. Just type in Justin Kinner, and you'll have access to the Justin Kinner Show. It should just be as simple as typing in the Justin Kinner Show. For whatever reason, people don't set things up right, and I'm ticked off about it, but whatever. It's going to make it more difficult, but I'll be blamed for it, I'm sure. But that's besides the point. Just type in Justin Kinner and then subscribe and download the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. So go and do that now. Apple, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, go and subscribe and do that now. Nonetheless, also subscribe to the Justin Kinner Show on YouTube. I'd appreciate that. I'm out of time. I got to go. Wright State Coaches Show coming up at 6 o'clock over at Modex. Hope to either see you there or hope you'll tune in. That wraps it up for us. Until tomorrow, the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
With Progressive Insurance, you could